Good morning. It is Friday, March the 15th, and this is The Drill. Thank you very much. This is Ron, your host, the only true conservative in the United States of America today, because I'm the only one that makes the presumption for the status quo. The New Zealand shooting that happened apparently overnight, some individuals, I think there's 4 of them that shot up a mosque, apparently, at least one mosque, and there's a number of people that are dead. So I've been listening to the response from various pundits, including Rush Limbaugh, who I was listening to just a few minutes ago, who was responding to this. And you saw quoting a Australian member of parliament that was had written an article about it that basically said, along the lines of, what a surprise, that Islamicists who go out and regularly advocate the killing and murder of Christians find themselves on the wrong end of the gun in this particular instance. But one of the things that was mentioned was, it was the Prime Minister that came out and made a statement about right-wing extremists being responsible for this carnage, for this destruction and killings. And none of the pundits have picked up on that and repudiated it. And it's fairly easy to repudiate. Right-wing extremists, first of all, there are no right-wing extremists. Second thing is that people that are, let's say, Nazis or KKK or those kinds of individuals that are regularly described as right-wing extremists are no such thing. They're not conservative. And they're not conservatives because they make the presumption for an ideal society. That's what they're looking for here, is an ideal society. The men that went ahead and shot up the mosque in New Zealand are no different. They're looking for an ideal society, an ideal New Zealand society free from Muslim influences. Conservatism is about conserving the status quo. It is not about creating an ideal society. Conservatism recognizes that this is a benevolent universe, that success is to be expected. And so therefore we make the presumption for the status quo, and we make changes only when changes are clearly indicated. And we only make those changes that we've thought about and decided on are the best changes among the various options. Not so with the people that were shooting up the mosques, and not so with any other so-called right-wing extremists. And it needs to be said. It must be said. When the people like Rush Limbaugh miss that opportunity, they help to reinforce a negative stereotype that conservatives and have to be constantly looking out for the KKK or the Nazis or whatever, and constantly it's conservatives' job to keep those people under control. There's no such thing. It's the left's job, because the left is idealistic. The left is looking for an ideal society. Socialists are looking for an ideal socialist society, and so are the Nazi Party, and so is the KKK. They're looking for an ideal white society, but they're still looking for the ideal society. So they all belong together on the left. So when anybody that tells you, the socialists among you that are saying, and perhaps even some ersatz conservatives that might think that it's correct that there are extremists on our side of the aisle, you need to be able to correct them and tell them, no, the people that do those kinds of things are on the left, not on the right, and be able to explain why. Be able to tell them that it's because we make the presumption for the status quo. We're not looking for an ideal society. We don't expect to ever have an ideal society. So, and Liz Wheeler this morning was talking about in her show about what was happening with the scandal yesterday and the day before, in which rich and I'm sure liberal parents were bribing various school officials, coaches, athletic directors, and admissions counselors to get their children into what they consider to be elite schools, Yale, USC, Stanford, etc. And that there's the guy at the center of this had taken like over $20 million over the past 6 or 7 years, bribing people to get people's children into these universities. One of the things, again, that didn't get mentioned by Liz Wheeler, is that the reason it's so competitive, my understanding from the research that I've done is that Yale, for instance, has a 6% acceptance rate. Of all the applications that are submitted, only 6% are approved, and those students are allowed to come to Yale. With USC, it's better. It's 13%. Still not a great number, but better than, say, Yale. And why do we have so many people that are clamoring to get into universities? And the answer is the minimum wage. What happens is as the minimum wage goes up, and by the way, it never goes down. It should, if we're going to have a proper minimum wage system, it should be flexible, depending on where the economy is at any given point. But when the minimum wage goes up, then businesses need to get value for the money they're paying their employees. If you were going to pay burger flippers the equivalent of a salary that you would give normally to somebody with a bachelor's degree, guess what the business is going to do? They're going to make, as part of their requirement to work as a burger flipper, that you have a bachelor's degree. A little story to illustrate the point. When I was in the Air Force, I was trained as a clerk. I was trained how to type and file, etc. When I left the Air Force and I was looking for work in the administrative fields, all that was required educationally was a high school diploma. As the years went by, that started creeping up. Pretty soon, the minimum requirement was an associate's degree, which was okay for me. I had an associate's degree. And now, a lot of administrative aid and administrative assistant positions, the minimum requirement is a bachelor's degree. Because also what happens is when you raise the minimum wage, let's say at McDonald's, and you've got, for the entry-level people, and you bump them up to, say, $15 an hour, it raises the wages and the expectations of employees above those people, the supervisors, the managers, the general managers, the people with more responsibility. They are expecting that if the frontline workers are going to get paid more, they are going to get paid more. So we have that upward pressure. And what ends up happening is that, again, positions that required a high school diploma now require a bachelor's degree. Positions that required a bachelor's degree are going to require a master's degree. And perhaps you're going to even have the positions that where in which a master's degree, let's say vice president, CEO, are now going to be PhD positions because of that upward pressure. But the point being is that now because of that, everybody has to, not just wants to, but has to go to college, because that's the only way that you're, in large part, you're going to get a decent paying job. In some cases, it's the only way you're going to get even not a decent paying job. That's the only way you're going to get a minimum wage job. So that's the thing that the conservatives miss out on, is that if you want to change a lot of circumstances economically, you got to start at the beginning. And the beginning is Keynesian economics, and the idea that the government has a role in shaping our economy, And being off the gold standard, having a paper economy, a credit economy, has a tendency to create these kinds of pressures. So, but at this point, I'm going to go ahead and we'll wrap it up. I wanted to say that thank you for joining me, and until next time, have a great day.